Hello, everybody. So yesterday I got to talk to Chris Liepe. Very thankful that he agreed to talk to me for my channel here. The time flew by when we were chatting. I got to hear about his background and a little bit about his life and how he slowly got into YouTube and how he was kind of making that work for him and just teaching and music stuff in general. Um, I remember seeing him on YouTube start to kind of teach and make more and more success. And it's funny because I don't tend to watch YouTube and I don't tend to watch YouTubers, obviously, which is probably something I should do because I am working in this field for the most part. But I do remember seeing him start to get more and more successful, and he was doing kind of all the right things. And I think a little part of me was kind of jealous because I was like, yeah, I don't know how I can do better and all this stuff. But he was doing the right things. And when you hear about his drive and his ridiculous, like, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do it every day. You're like, it's motivating, it's inspiring to hear about. And he's not only just does that with his work, but he does that with his diet and everything, which I also got to kind of comically ask him at the end of this. How do we stay fit like you for 10 years in a row, Chris Lipe? So I hope you enjoy our chat. If you have other people that you would like me to try to talk to, reach out to them, ask them for me, whatever works, or have them reach out to me, sterlingravijackson@gmail.com. I'd love to talk to more vocalists and musicians and people like myself that are on here doing their thing, online doing their thing, whatever. And yeah, man, talk to them about psychology, about mental health, about music, about creation, about growing up and becoming, who they are. I love all that kind of stuff. So I hope you guys enjoy this, and thanks. Let's start off here by asking you, where were you born? You were born Chris Lipe, or tell me about that.
I was born Chris Liepe in Tualatin, Oregon, September 17th, 1981. And I actually think I was born in Beaverton, but we lived in Tualatin, Oregon, which is a suburb of Portland, Oregon.
Right,
And I
right.
lived there until I was around 10 years old and then moved to Colorado.
Ah, okay. I saw the Mountain Time stuff, and I think I saw somewhere online that you were in Colorado. So,
Yeah.
what's that like? I mean, when did you actually move from Oregon to Colorado?
1991, I was 10 years old, and we moved because my dad switched jobs. He was an electrical engineer
Right.
and built oscilloscopes in Tualatin, and just ready for a change. So he ended up moving everybody out to Colorado, and it we at age 10 I had some close friends,
Yeah.
and it was really a difficult move, but man, I love Colorado. Love the weather, the outdoorsiness, and yeah, been in Colorado since age 10, but I left for 4 years
Yeah.
because I went out and worked at the Sweetwater Recording Studios as a staff engineer, producer, um, mixing, jingle writer, and that was where I really got my start. I dabbled in music and playing guitar and singing and stuff like that, and teaching before that. But where I really came into my own creatively and technique wise in especially singing really was there.
Yeah. Well, first of all, we have to ask, what was your dad making? What was that? A cell soap, or what was it?
Oscilloscope. So there are these devices, and now it's like so archaic. But back then, what they would do is they would measure sound, and they would do a visual representation of the sound.
Huh.
Uh, and so you might have a gunshot or something, and it would measure in frequency and amplitude what was happening in that particular sound. Super cool. And I mean, nowadays that stuff's built into plugins you can buy or whatever, but back then that was a pretty cool thing. So he did make oscilloscopes, and then he moved on and made some of the first CD writers that you could put in your computer. So you could like
Wow.
burn a CD, which is super cool for me because when we moved here, I was getting into music, and it was like, what, I can buy CDs and I can actually record. I can have my Tascam 4-track tape recorder, and I can burn a CD of the things that I'm recording. Like, I was just
Not not
very,
to,
very excited.
not to mention being able to give that to girls and be like, I made you a mixtape before other people could make such mixtapes. So that
Screw mixtapes. It was mixed CDs.
that's what I mean. Yeah, like
Yeah,
you
it was
could write
awesome.
on it, and yeah, that's pretty awesome. So you were kind of born into sort of a musical family, or at least some part of that, right? I
My
mean, hearing
dad, my dad played guitar and wrote some songs. My mom taught me piano and choir. I was in choir, a little church choir, way back when, and I grew up playing piano and singing. I took up guitar at age. I didn't start playing guitar till 17 and
Mm,
picked that up really fast. And when I started doing guitar was when I really got serious about rock vocals. Um, Even though I'd been listening to, Chris Cornell, Soundgarden, Alice in Chains, Pearl Jam, stuff like that since I was probably 13 or 14.
yeah,
Uh, it was when I picked up guitar and really started listening to these things, not just because that's what was cool, but because I was like, ah, I love this sound. I love the emotion that's coming out of this music. And I remember my first uh, like I got to do this moment for guitar was off of Collective Souls, Hints and Allegations, and Things Left Unsaid. The song "Shine," and that guitar solo that just comes out of nowhere. I learned that was one of the first guitar solos I learned note for note.
yeah.
And I remember, back then there was no internet. I mean, there was internet, but there wasn't any like references and stuff. So I had that on
Oh, yeah.
CD, and I remember just rewinding all constantly and just listening note for note and having to pause and getting frustrated because like on CDs when you, especially the early CD players, early like 1993, those kinds of things, you'd be like um you try to go back and it would just skip like and then you'd play
Yeah.
and so you couldn't really tell where you were at, and so you'd go back 10 seconds and then you'd play it and it'd be full speed and you're like no. So uh, yeah, well that's how I started on guitar. And then my first call into vocals was Soundgarden Super Unknown.
So crazy. Yeah, I mean, that's a great place to start, but it's obviously bananas too. Like, I mean, I guess you got a little bit of stuff with the choir kind of training, but like to go right to, yeah, I'm gonna sing Soundgarden, you know.
Well, I couldn't sing it at all when I started. I mean, it took me from when I first wanted to, that 16, 17 years old, having listened to the album for many years, when I started experimenting with my voice, it was really frustrating because I had this, I didn't know what he was doing, how he was getting any of those sounds. I
Yeah.
just knew that like when a rare occasion I got to hear him speak in some off MTV interview or whatever, because you didn't have that behind the scenes stuff. I'd hear him speak and I'd be like, what? He speaks like this, like a normal human, and then he sings like you know, and it was stuff like "Fell on Black Days" where I would sing along with him, playing the guitar and singing along, and then as soon as he'd sing the word "fly," I'd be like, ah, "What's going? How is he?" And there's just so many years of that, and it really wasn't until when I was in college, being shut down by my voice teachers for even wanting to learn that stuff,
Oh wow.
that that I finally got it, and that was 2000. So you know, struggling through it and enjoying the music, just as a fan and as an aspiring artist or whatever. But then it wasn't until 2003 or four where um, I I began to play with my voice in ways that revealed some of those things. And it was because I had a voice teacher who, I brought her Soundgarden Super Unknown, and I because we were working on all the old lady vocalizations and stuff, because that's what was there
Yep, yep.
in the school. And I brought her the CD. I played her "The Day I Tried to Live,"
Mhm.
and I said, "Look, I can sing the verse. What is he doing on that chorus?
Yep.
What is he doing?" I I have to know. And she didn't even listen to the whole song, and she paused the CD right after the first chorus and was like, "You don't want to do that. It's going to hurt your voice.
Yeah.
And besides, he's got a higher voice than you." And and that was the last lesson I took from
Yeah.
her. And it was the last. I think it was actually the last voice lesson I took, because it was it was not. It was not helpful. It was discouraging. I knew that she was just saying that stuff because she didn't know what was going on, and she was a doctorate of professional, did a doctorate of classical something, but wasn't open to learning, and it was really at that point that I was like, I am going to figure this out. I know it's possible, and uh, I'm going to do it. And so it was a lot of making terrible sounds in my dorm room and recording myself and listening back, and having I remember I got audiences in my dorm. I was in a dorm room with it's like a shared sort of thing, and it was an English as a second language for Japanese students, because in college I went to a school that didn't have on-site dorms, so I had to find a place to live that was off campus.
Mhm.
And I stayed at this school that it was a bunch of Japanese people, and then other people who were um, going to the same school I was, that needed a place to live. And it was I didn't even have my own bathroom. It was like this community bathroom, and everybody had their doors open all the time, and you always knew what everybody was eating and what everybody was watching and stuff. And so I made this announcement when I started to really work on my voice and make recordings and experiment, that I just went down the hall and I said, you're gonna hear some really crazy sounds. I'm not dying, but I might be. And I'm learning. I'm in school. I'm in school for music industry studies with an emphasis in technology and a minor in voice. And this is what I'm doing. And I ended up getting, audiences after a little bit. People would be outside my door listening to me, you know, very similar to what I've got here, except for not quite as cool, like going over and over again on certain lines, singing a Soundgarden line over and over again, listening back, singing it. How does it sound? How do I want it to sound? How does it feel? How do I want it to feel? And just doing that stuff for hours until I couldn't sing anymore, until I had a headache or whatever.
Right.
And that's how I learned.
That's crazy. You had the experience of people hearing you kind of doing that, and hopefully encouraging, and then probably not encouraging. But yeah, there's so many things to relate to with that. I wanted to step way back really quick and just ask. My first instrument was drums, and I find that since that was my first instrument, it translates into the way I write, and it translates into the way I play other instruments. Since you were
Yeah.
trained on piano first, do you ever find that you would tend to write on a guitar in a similar way or anything, or are you able to separate them a lot? I think percussion is a little bit different, but even when I play piano, I approach it, and I find sometimes that I'm kind of secretly approaching it as a percussionist. Does that make any sense?
Yeah. Um, I
I think
never
that'd be
got
great.
I never got good enough
Right.
at piano or guitar. I mean, I taught guitar and
Yeah.
played in all sorts of projects and did recording studio sessions and stuff. I guess I got pretty good on guitar, but when it came to writing, I would always write on guitar. Um, but really my voice and how I've always enjoyed playing with my voice so much
Yeah.
that that was always the driving thing. Piano was awesome because it gave me a language,
Okay.
and trained my ear in a way that, being able to, hear someone sing a note and then hear the intervals between, and then know based on what those notes are, how it's going to feel in my voice and what I can do,
Mm.
like what kind of flavors I can bring out in my voice because I know the note.
Right. Right.
Um, like that whole thing. And I think writing, I wrote and keyed cover songs and did that stuff, uh, largely off of inspiration from other artists. I spent years and years and years. Really, I wrote jingles like as a full-time gig for, oh, I mean, it was full time for 4 years, and then I did it, contract, just freelance and stuff for another four after that. So 8 years, I
Yeah.
wrote thousands of jingles, and those were always ripoffs of something. We'd talk to the client, and they'd be like, "We need a John Mellencamp sound. We need a
Wow.
whatever." And so I was vocally and instrumentally impersonating sort of, you know, all of these different types of sounds,
Yeah.
and that was really fun.
Yeah,
It that
absolutely.
that was one of the things that helped me find. People are always asking, how do I find my voice? Well, go s- go sing everybody else's stuff and figure out how that works in your own voice, and fail at it. And through that you find out what your voice is good at, and what your voice is, and what you'd like your voice to be good at, and how you can practice. And but that was huge, and that's why I think my time at Sweetwater as a staff writer was so fruitful for that, because I remember that was what, 2009, 2005 through 2009. And so American Idol was still big, and you had, like, I remember doing a jingle. Someone wanted a jingle like Clay Aiken song,
Yeah.
and so I had to, and it was that song Invincible,
Yeah.
or Invisible, I
Yeah.
think it was. Um, and so I made one like that, and had to sing like that, and had to hit those notes, and then there were a lot of stuff like, ZZ Top, and people wanted like Montrose, um, Van Halen stuff, like just all sorts of funny things, depending on, if it's a car dealer, tractor dealer, truck dealer, whatever.
Yeah.
Um, and it was really fun to do all those different styles, and that's really where I've been the most prolific in writing. And to my maybe just mild disappointment, I have an EP, I've written some songs, but it I really did the jingle thing, and so writing became this thing that was like, all right, sit down, it's Monday morning, I got 20 jingles to write this week. Let's go. It became this thing that was like a job. And so once I sort of stopped and stepped away from that,
Yeah.
it really, and then needed to work and make money. It's like, well, writing my own original music isn't making me anything. So
Yep.
teaching is, and showing people how to do things that they like, and would want to know how to do that works. So I'll do that. And I started that on guitar. Um, I started teaching guitar lessons online, and then when that various transitions transpired, and I ended up starting my vocal coaching thing. So
Yeah. I remember seeing you come onto the scene and start teaching vocal stuff. And I had been teaching, I think I've been teaching for 14 years now. Do
that's
you
nice.
remember how long you've been on YouTube now? Like how long you've actually been engaged as doing that?
This is my fifth year.
Oh,
So
I thought it was
yeah,
even longer. So,
no, I started my YouTube channel in 2008, but didn't post anything
right.
like mid 2019.
Yeah.
And then, nobody was watching anything. And
I was,
then,
Chris.
oh, good.
I just
Uh,
saw it. Yeah, it popped up, and because there wasn't many people with valuable information. I mean, that's one of the kind of interesting things to ask you is that did you actually get any good information from anybody online? The main kind of thing or person that was kind of helping me online was Brett Manning and his
oh, cool.
just ridiculous amounts of students because he was really dominating a lot of that stuff back then and
Yeah.
doing it in a professional way. And then I don't know what happened to him. Anyway, yeah, I remember you coming onto the scene and you had really good information. You were doing it really professionally. And when I think back, I don't think you even, I'm sure you would be like, oh yeah, the first ones were not that good or whatever, but you always had a good presentation and everything was really good and you did it in a professional way. I don't know if I could say the same about myself. Anyway, yeah, did you have some people that you were getting some good information from online that really helped you to move forward?
Well, so prior to mid 2019, and you can go search me up on YouTube. The reason maybe it seems like I've been longer is because that's when I started my channel, but I had been teaching guitar lessons online through
Oh,
a company called jamplay.com.
right, right,
So
right.
if you search, Chris Liepe Jamplay, you'll find videos of me still with hair, as early
I don't
as
fucking,
early
I
as
don't believe that.
2009. Right. As
That's that's hard. That's probably why nobody would recognize you because
right.
I only know the bald version of Chris Liepe. So
And so I'm
yeah.
teaching people how to play, you know, Christmas carols, and the
Wow.
first video I ever did on YouTube was a Carol of the Bells, and I did it was an instrumental, weird sound of Carol of the Bells, and I was so nervous because I'd been teaching guitar lessons and voice lessons prior to that, but not online, and I was so nervous and my eyes were so shifty. I wore a Santa hat and I wore aviator sunglasses so that people couldn't see my eyes. And
Wow.
it was cool. Like I played this thing and I taught people how to do it. And my editor for that, you know, who's edited for that company, they really liked what I did. And I kind of fell into this um, back in, it was 2009. I fell into this. Oh, I guess I'm going to be an online guitar teacher, and so I did courses for that website, and then they would put stuff on YouTube, and people would, you know, it's a very similar model to what I do now, except for I was doing it for this company, and I still keep up with those guys. They ended up selling the company in 2018. I think, maybe no, maybe it was 19. Um, for me, it was kind of like, well, either yeah, this my destiny was never in my hands anyway, but now that they're selling and like merging with these other things, and am I going to have to move? Am I, you know, I don't know. So I ended up quitting and said I'm just going to do this myself, and I'm not going to do guitar anymore, and I do voice because I like the voice better anyway. And I've kind of taught enough guitar, and you know, I think there were the other. I actually started my YouTube channel with this idea that I was going to do 3 videos a week, and I was going to do a voice video, a recording video, and a guitar video,
Yeah.
and I was just going to keep rotating.
Mhm.
And nobody watched any of them at the beginning, but as I went longer, you know, several months in, I started to realize that the voice videos were getting, you know, my guitar videos were getting like 13 or 14 views, and my my recording videos were getting maybe a little more,
Mhm.
but then my voice videos were getting like 200 or 300 views, and I was like, "Ooh, okay, well, I guess I'll stop doing these guitar ones because they're too hard to do anyway, and I'll just do the voice ones." And then I released uh, my version of "The Day I Tried to Live,"
Right.
then my acoustic cover of that, and that did pretty good. I remember thinking, "Whoa!" I released it the first day it was out. It was like, "Oh, I got 400 views. That's pretty awesome for someone who you know doesn't get any views." And then a buddy of mine, this is to more directly answer your question, who I had met through other people. I guess he wasn't really a friend, but more an acquaintance. Through I met some people through Sweetwater, and anyway,
Yeah.
he was the guy from the Recording Revolution, Graham Cochran, and thriving. He was kind of one of the first online guys to do the whole like have a YouTube channel and sell courses and stuff like that, and especially in the music space. There were other people doing that before it, but and he's a huge Soundgarden fan, and he saw my Chris Cornell cover, and he did a video about it.
Oh, so
Um,
that was okay.
so that was the first one where he posted on Facebook, and then he did something about it, and he pointed to my, I mean, I didn't ask him to do it or anything. He just like, this guy, he's a vocal coach, and he likes and he can actually sing it. And so people got excited about that. And then I released a video just after that one called How to Start to Sing Like Chris Cornell,
Right.
which was the Dying Cat video.
I,
Uh,
I remember some of this. Yeah. Yep. Yep.
and
Dying
and
cat.
so what ended up happening though, you know, I had Graham Cochran, and I still a great friend. His name's David Walleman. Met him through Jam Play,
Mhm.
and he really helped me get started and adapt what I already knew how to do in Jam Play, um, for my own business. So showed me the, you know, uh, how to, like, what kinds of videos you want to make to funnel people into interest for your courses, and how to write emails, and then we ended up doing an ear training course together even before um, I did my voice course because I needed something. I had quit jam play and I didn't have any, and he was just killing it in guitar teaching.
Mhm.
And so I was like, I want to start vocals. My YouTube channel sucks. And so we did this ear training course, and he let me like sell to his list. Well, he sold it, but I was the course collaborator.
Okay.
And so that gave me a little bit of money, being able to split those proceeds with him,
Mhm.
and but it was rough there for a while. So I learned a lot from David Wallman, and I got a little boost uh, from
Just
Graham Cochran,
yeah.
and so those are the guys who really helped me get started. But it was after that I started messing around with Facebook ads,
Oh,
uh,
okay.
and
That's
that really helped put attention on the YouTube channel. I don't know if you want to hear any more about that, but
Well, of course, because
yeah,
you definitely have. I could always tell you had a good marketing sense, and like I said, from the first time I saw you, I was always the musician guy, trying to be the musician guy and trying to do this or that or whatever. And I
yeah,
knew I taught, but I didn't want to. I was very afraid to be seen as a teacher on YouTube or in any kind of capacity because I didn't want to be known as the teacher because I didn't want that to color anything I created.
hmm
Like you can try to control how people think about you anyway, but I
yeah,
was very much trying to do that. And I was in bands and I would get on YouTube for about a year and try to be consistent, then fall off, which they do not like. The algorithm does not like that. And then yeah, when I got divorced, then I was just like, well, I got to start. Like anything, it's like I got to make money. So then I just went into it, and now I've been doing that, and trying to. That's how I'm getting most of my students, and it is a good thing. Anyway, I could always tell you had a good marketing sense with this stuff because of the way you set up your courses, your emails, and everything. And then I wondered about that. Facebook ads can be very great, and some people have made insane amounts of money even just selling shirts, but it's complicated shit. It can be very complicated. Not to mention it can also Facebook like can shut you down. Like you put this word in and you can't do that, and then you're
oh
banned.
my.
You can't put any more ads up, and you're like, I don't know what I did. So
Well, and to be clear, I don't run any Facebook. I don't run any ads anymore anywhere.
right.
But back in 2000, so mid 2019. So I guess it was I released the Chris Cornell videos, those two Chris Cornell videos in May, right around the time the anniversary of it would have been the 2 year anniversary of his death.
Yeah.
Um, so I released those videos, um, and then in in the summer, oh no, just a few months later, uh, I released a video, which is still it's my most commonly viewed video, how to scream and yell and stuff without screwing up your voice.
Was that the
Uh,
title?
yeah, something like that. And as I released that video, and again, a few hundred views, and I was like, I'm so frustrated with nobody watching my videos. And at the time, Facebook would allow you to make a post and create custom audiences
Yep.
and make an ad out of pretty much anything you wanted.
Yep.
And so what I started doing, I was like, I am not going to try to sell anybody anything with my Facebook ads. I just want views.
You,
I'm going to buy views. I'm going to pay Facebook to promote my YouTube videos.
yeah.
And so I started running these ads, which all it was a short write up and a link to YouTube, and then I would throw money at that ad.
Was there a
Uh,
thumbnail or anything?
yeah, it was my thumbnail, and a link and a little write up as to why this is cool. And I spent days, like figuring out custom audiences and like who's going to want to watch these videos and stuff like that. And I spent way too much time and way too much money doing those ads. And finally, so I'd run an ad on a video, a new video or whatever, and I'd let the YouTube algorithm, because they didn't really have things as sophisticated, I guess, or maybe they're more sophisticated, whatever. But YouTube didn't know that I was paying for people to watch the video. That was Facebook's problem. And
Right.
and so the YouTube algorithm just saw like, oh, all of a sudden this video is getting more views.
Yeah.
And so what I would do is I'd release a video, I'd throw money at it on Facebook. It would stoke the YouTube algorithm, and then the algorithm would pick it up.
Unreal. That's crazy.
Uh, and
Did you find a certain thumbnail worked better? Like you had one thumbnail that was like this, and then another
no,
one
I
that was
never
same
experimented
one.
with thumbnails.
Well, I mean, it's just funny to think about because God knows how much sex sells and all that stuff, and you never can tell. Somebody might like a picture of you like this more than they like a picture of you like this. So I just figured I'd.
Yeah, yeah, I never really my thumbnails I feel like have always been awful. But they are what they are. Um, no, it was just I'm gonna make this video. I think there's valuable information in it, and YouTube's doing me no favor, so I'm gonna pay people to see these videos. And then I would of course have my funnel, the links to my free course and stuff like that in the descriptions of the YouTube videos, and that was a massive money pit for many many months, like about half a year. Um, and it was so expensive. I mean, so expensive. Um,
How were you funding it at the time? Were you like, what were you doing?
Savings.
Well, I mean, what kind of work did you have outside of it? Were you still just doing musical stuff? Or
I was doing jingles. I was teaching guitar lessons, and private voice lessons and guitar lessons and stuff. And then I was voiceover artist for radio, uh,
okay.
and a little bit of voice acting and stuff like that. That's it.
Yeah,
Uh,
stuff
and
without a following that's not really going to get you that much money. As a voice
yeah.
teacher, you can make a lot of money, but if nobody knows you, it's the same as everything else for the most part.
So yeah, so I ended up doing these ads for a while, and then in late August of 2019, I think I had 300 subscribers on YouTube.
Mm.
Um, and I'd run ads on maybe, I don't know, 20 or so videos that had gotten, because I'd paid money for them, they'd gotten somewhere in the area of 6 or 7 thousand views for some of these, and and all external. Like when you went and looked in the stuff, you could see that, oh, it's not YouTube's audience. It's like external. Where's this? We don't
Right.
even know where it's coming
Oh,
from, but whatever.
right.
I got an email from Google, at the end of August 2019, that said, "Shh, don't tell anybody, but next week your channel is going to be featured as a creator on the rise for 24
Oh,
hours." So what that meant is that it would be featured. My channel would be on the trending page
yep.
for 24 hours, and I got so excited. I called David, who he helped me get set up. I was like, "This is happening. What does this mean? I don't even know." And so I real quick filmed more videos because I wanted to have this like
Yeah.
queue of cool things to release as my channel was being featured. And um, I went from 300 or so subscribers in August to, at the end of September, I had 30,000 subscribers.
Jesus, that's
Um,
good.
and and it was like insta business for vocal coaching,
Yeah.
for online vocal coaching anyway.
Yeah.
Um, because I already had the courses. Well, I had the course at the time. I had Discover Your Voice. Um, and yeah, it was great. And so I ended up running ads anyway through, until COVID. And then Facebook started to get real weird about what kinds of things you put on, and they kept shutting me down and throttling my reach. And I'd pay for something, and then they'd turn off the ad, and I was like,
Mm.
guess that's not going to work anymore.
Yep.
But yeah, so that's really how I got my start, in terms of being able to do it gainfully, which I'm very thankful for.
Hell yeah.
I don't even know what I would have done, because I didn't have any regular work.
Yeah.
um, and just to go back to what you were talking about with, wanting to balance like the artist with the teacher.
Right.
I kind of gave the artist thing up when I noticed, um,
It
I
wasn't paying
tended,
anything.
well, I think what it really was is like, going out to Sweetwater, um, and working with artists. I mean, not only was I a jingle writer, but I got to I got to play session stuff and record for really cool bands, like, Sarah Bareilles. I got to do an unplugged EQ or unplugged EP with or for Sarah Bareilles, Landon Pig, REO Speedwagon. I got to meet those, Collective Soul, um, and a handful of other great artists. And talking with them, but then also realizing, a lot of the artists that I worked with, some of them were up and coming, and some of them were like Collective Soul at that point they kind of had their heyday. And I just kind of looked at it, I was like, you know what, these careers are so short and fleeting and hit and miss, and I don't want to travel around.
Yep.
I don't want the pressure to be. I don't want the pressure to be creative. I like being creative, but I don't want that pressure.
Yeah.
And so I decided that really helping people make music,
Yeah.
whether that was as an engineer, producer, a session musician, that was going to be something that I was more excited about. And then I saw how much coaching I was doing to particularly the vocalists that would come in and sing and in the studio, and I was always able to get these amazing performances out of people.
Yep.
And I was like, this is what I should do.
This is
Uh, and it was, it, I think the fact that I'm still so nerdy and curious about my own voice helps with that teaching. That I would be nerdy like that even if I didn't teach. It's just something something I have to do. Um, and so I think that helps teaching. But I think for me, that's like, I can be a teacher for a long time. I can be a vocal coach for a long time because, especially as I continue to collaborate and associate myself with things that people want to do, right? Like when I started the vocal coaching thing, I had no idea that I'd get an Instagram message from Periphery Spencer Sotelo saying, "Hey, I love the video you did on me." And then I could ask him if he wanted to do a course together, and he'd be like, "Sure." And then he'd fly out and we'd do a course, and then the same thing would happen with a bunch of other, and Ren, like Ren is an amazing artist, and he sent me some messages saying, "Hey, I've been watching your videos. I really appreciate what you're doing. You're helping me. Basically, you're helping me with my voice."
Yeah.
Um, and so I think what I've really enjoyed about what I get to do now is I get to be a professional fan of artists that I really love,
Yeah.
and then and I would like them even if I didn't do anything,
Yeah.
professionally around them.
Right. Right.
But then to be able to work with some of them or help some of them, um, that is a way that I feel like I can continue to provide value
Yeah.
way beyond what I ever would have been able to do, with that, as an artist,
Yeah.
as just an artist.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Now you, I mean, you have a shitload of followers on YouTube, and I'm not sure if you're on Patreon or not, but
No.
was there a time where you found out like, oh, I'm just going to do this now, and this is all I'm going to do, and I'm going to have a schedule, and I'm going to release on a schedule? Like, was there a time where you found out that you could completely support yourself with your YouTube money?
Well, so when I started in that early to mid 2019,
Right.
it didn't really make me anything until basically till 2020, but early, late 2019. Um, but when I started, I remember I was up in the mountains with one of my longtime friends, and I had just quit my full-time job and other things, and I had the side work and stuff like that I talked about, and we were sitting on the deck in the mountains of his parents' mountain home or whatever, and he had these opportunities that he was pursuing, and I'm sitting back there and I'm like, oh well, I'm gonna start a YouTube channel, and I have no work, uh, and he, we'd known each other, we played in bands as teenagers and stuff, uh, and he looked at me and he's like, you're gonna succeed if you treat this like you treat other things,
Right.
which is, you just go all in right from the beginning.
Mhm.
And that's what I've always been. I don't, the things that I'm interested in and the things that I do and I like, it's an all or nothing.
Yep.
Um, he's like, if you do this like you do other things, it's gonna work. It's gonna work.
So
And
you're
so I started, day one with you. I was doing 2 videos a week,
right.
even though I wasn't making any money. I was super disciplined about it. Like, I have not taken I've taken a break, but it's because I filmed, in advance so that I could still maintain regular posting. But I have not missed a week of posting,
That's
at
a
least 2 videos a week in 4.5 years or whatever. I've not missed a single, and most of the time I'm posting more than that. Um, and so I started making it the thing before it was able to be the thing. It was a classic example of that imposter syndrome, fake it till you make it. I don't care if nobody watches my videos. I remember telling my wife, like, I'm gonna buy all this camera equipment and I'm gonna make this my most expensive hobby yet. Thank you for working a nursing job so that we can do this. And we had young kids, and they were, yeah, so yeah, not that young, but they were young, and so she was working nursing at that point to help with, and now she doesn't have to work at all, which is great. Um, but I was able to make it my I don't have to do anything else in mid 2020.
excellent, man. That's
So
awesome. It's
yeah.
inspiring to hear, and I definitely wanted to ask about the wife dynamic and or girlfriend dynamic because I was married for 17 years,
Wow.
and she definitely saw me trying to be a musician, trying to do this, trying to do YouTube, trying to tour, trying to be in this band, trying to and
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm very much cursed like you, where I have this. It's a blessing and a curse of this all or nothing. If you're gonna do a diet, there is no cheat day. If you're gonna do this, there is no. It's all or nothing. Sometimes that becomes emotional too. But anyway, we don't have enough time to get into all that. Um, but yes, I've always been pulled in musically in different directions, so it's been very hard to all or nothing one thing, and especially when it comes to artistry or wanting to create just exclusively for yourself, but then not providing it all, it can be very like, but this is where I want to go, but this is what works. Which brings me to my next point. Since we don't have much time, everything is fucking reaction videos now, and everything's changing. I want to know your perspective on it as a creator, as a content creator and stuff, because it's my heart is not in it, and I struggle to do it, and I try to do it, but at the end of the day, I actually kind of like you, I like providing value, and I find it hard to provide value when I'm just sitting there like, yeah, that part, and then this, and then they kind of did that there, and it just feels very odd to me. What is your take on that stuff?
So one of the when I very early on, I remember being with that same friend, in a car. We were going to a Coheed and Cambria concert, um, and one of his friends knew that I'd started a YouTube channel. He's like, "Hey, you should do Vocal Coach Reacts videos,"
Oh wow.
and I was like, "What are those?"
Yeah.
Because I was just doing vocal tips, how to sing in mixed voice, and stuff like that, and um, and so I went and watched a couple of them, and I didn't get it. I
Yeah.
didn't get it at all.
Yeah.
Uh, and I saw the kind of uh, excitement that people had for them,
Yep.
and so I was like, well, how can I make this
And do
how can I make this a teaching opportunity?
yeah.
Uh, and and so that's what I started doing, but I did it initially not as a vocal coach reacts. I did it as a how to sing like dot dot dot.
Same.
And so what I would do is I would take little portions of songs, and I would break it down. Like, here's the techniques they're using. Here's, and nobody. I mean, maybe someone was, but nobody was doing it quite like I was. Where you take like a piece of Jared Leto and you would actually build the sound or whatever. And um, those did really well. Like, how to sing like Corey Taylor was a big video for me. How to sing like Chris Cornell, that was a good one.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, all those guys, Lane Staley, Kurt Cobain. Um, those initially did really well, and it was kind of cool because it was a direct, like, hey, if you want to go deeper, you want to get the foundation for doing these things on a real level, uh, click that link, join my free course. And so it's all about, like, how can I give value
Yeah.
and utilize different formats to give value. And I got and I really didn't do an actual reaction video, and even then they weren't really reaction videos, they're more just a vocal analysis video until I did some work with the charismatic voice. Uh and she's just the pioneer of like awesome view reaction. But one of the things that she's not just, without mentioning any names, like there's the class of reaction that is basically like what you were talking about, which I don't find interesting, which is just like, whoa,
It is a crazy.
cool, and then you go and or they don't. It's a reaction. It's not an analysis. It's not a, and now there's some great channels that are doing more analysis stuff, which I really enjoy. Um, but as I started to watch a little bit of what Elizabeth from the Charismatic Voice was doing, she like perfectly blended that surprise factor of, and she can do it in a certain way because she's an opera singer who hadn't heard anything, like
Oh, I know.
opera singer reacts to Soundgarden for the first, like I can't do that. I've been listening to Soundgarden for, and I'm not a pretty girl either, like I'm an old man.
It
So
also, it
uh
also doesn't go backwards where you're like, rock singer listens to opera. Like nobody's.
no, it doesn't work, and because there's that shock factor. And so I spent a lot of time trying to figure out like how can I do this in a way that creates value for the people that want value in this area.
Yeah.
And so I started, I can't do a vocal coach reacts to Soundgarden or vocal coach reacts to really anything because I'm such a music nut. I'd heard everything already. And so it turned into that vocal analysis thing, which, comparison is the enemy of joy, right? But I would release one of these videos and, you know, whoever who could react to it for the first time would get so many more views than me who is just doing an analysis and is already, it's old news. So I started going, well, okay, well, what haven't I heard
Right.
that and so I started listening to my audience and my students, and turns out there's a lot I haven't heard, and it's a lot of new music that is really great, and I I love it. I love the way I'm doing it. I mean,
Awesome.
some of these artists, and I pick and choose, right? Like there's times where there's some new artist that you'll study what's trending or what people are liking in my audience or whatever, and I'll listen to something. I'll be like, I don't have anything to talk about, so I'm not going to do a video on them.
Yep.
But uh, like there's some artists recently that either I hadn't heard of them and now I have, and or they're an older artist but they're releasing new material
Yeah.
and they really align with what I am excited to show people.
Yeah.
And it's about finding those. Ado is one of those that, because she's so wacky with her voice and I'm wacky with my voice, and like huge synergy there. Like, and her camp has actually reached out to me and thanked me for what I do with her videos. It's super cool. And Ren is another example of that. Like I got to do an interview with Ren, and he thanked me on the interview for helping with his own voice, and just I mean, Periphery and Will Ramos and Andy Sizik. You asked. I just did a course with Andy Sizik from Monuments. Really funny story there. When I was doing my video on how to scream and yell without hurting your voice, his original scream video was one of the ones that I watched to be like, well, what are people talking about? How are people presenting this? Because I want to present it in my own way, but I also want to know how other people. And so I watched his video, and then come full circle years later, we start talking, and then I ended up doing a course with him, and so I really enjoy the reaction space right now because of the way I've chosen to do it. If you watch my reactions, they're not really. I mean, they are sort of reactions if I'm hearing it for the first time, but most of the time, it's even titled this way. so and so vocal analysis,
Yeah.
and and I want people to expect a vocal analysis, not just a reaction,
Yeah.
because I go in and they're gonna sing something and I'm gonna sing it back, and I make no apologies about being stupid with my voice, and I don't care if I sound like an idiot because I'm learning. And if you're not here to learn, if you're just here to see someone say wow, there's plenty of other channels to do that, and there's plenty of great channels. Um, I'm not gonna do that. I might say wow. I am impressed with some of these singers, but I'm not gonna stop there. And it's not taking anything away from other reactors that do that really well.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
they can do that really well, and their audience loves it, and it's a great thing. They're providing value in a very unique way. It's just not something I could do, because I think because I'm too nerdy and curious about what's actually happening.
Same.
It's that all or nothing sort of thing, right? But also, I don't have that. Um, I don't have that contrast. That, like, I am the vocal nerd. I'm not. I'm not I'm not an opera singer, or I'm not a. I'm not someone who's lived under a rock in terms of music for a long time, and I'm experiencing the Rolling Stones for the first time. Like, I that would be disingenuous for me to pose like that anyway. People would be able to see right through it.
Yep.
So that's how I've dealt with it. I mean, I've really, really enjoyed. Now I get burnt out on it too when, there's the schedule thing is a little irritating when. I mean, and don't get me wrong. Like, I love Linkin Park. I've loved Linkin Park since Hybrid Theory, but really got into them in Minutes to Midnight. And when they started releasing all this new stuff, I was like, oh, this is gonna be awesome. I'm, genuinely, just as a fan,
Yeah.
I'm enjoying this, and it's gotten to the point where, yes, I really enjoy all of it, but ah, I was going to take today off, and now they released a song, and they're going live on September 5th, and so I've got to remove all my, so there's a little bit of that, but I try to keep that balance in check, in that,
People came after me because of the Emily Armstrong thing. I just posted and reacted, and I didn't know about her background. And you don't have any time left here, but I didn't know about her background. But then everybody wanted to make sure I did know about her background. And I think I ended up taking it down. But I was reacting to her voice because I knew her from Dead Sarah way back. And I like her voice and stuff. But like I said, there's a lot of ties to that and her and Scientology and everything. And I was like, all right, I don't know. I was just talking about vocals, for God's sakes. But since you have to go, I want to go in a completely different direction because I do
yeah.
find it very interesting when you see somebody years ago here and then you see them now and they look exactly the same. So you're kind of Paul Rudd like. You have not aged, which is good for you. But you also have been consistently fit for just years and years and years. I have health problems, so you'll see fatter videos of me and lighter videos. But what is it that you're doing, Chris Liepe? What can we all do to be more Chris Liepe like in our fitness regimen?
Uh, wow, that's a whole course right there. But um,
Of course.
the and I can
I love how I
I can go.
completely threw you off.
No, I can go for another 7 or 8 minutes too. That's It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Um, the the main thing I can say is it's about consistency. It's that all or nothing consistency.
Yep.
Um, and since I can say that since 2001, yeah, since 2001, I have been regularly lifting weights and studying nutrition, um, and have never stopped.
Yeah.
I, like, literally never. I think maybe in the 23 years that I've been lifting weights,
Yeah.
uh, I have taken, and intentionally, but not because I don't want to do it today, but like I was gonna go to Mexico and there was no place to work out or whatever, or I just, that kind of thing. I think I've probably taken a grand total of 3 weeks off in 23 years.
Jesus, man.
Um,
This is why you're out there doing what you do, sir. That's true.
and 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 it's also a very methodical thing, but it's that nerdiness, right? It's the same thing with vocals, right? Like I'm so curious, like if I do this, what will happen? If I do this, what will happen? If I make this sound or have this posture, or and and there's no judgment. It's just, I just started this. So my son, I have a 14-year-old son, and he got into weight training a couple of years ago because he has a condition called pectus excavatum, which when you become a teenager and you start growing, he's developed this like concave chest thing that can cause problems with lung development and stuff like. Anyway, so he had this thing, and we had this consultation, and they were like, well, yeah, we can do this surgery, and we can put this big beam in your chest, and it'll push you out, and it'll do all these things, and you won't be able to do sports, and you won't be able to do this, you won't be able to do that, but maybe by the time you're 17 and you're done skeletal growing, we can take it out, and you'll be able to breathe. And so we were like, nah, we're not gonna do that. And I got him on a weight training routine. We actually went out on YouTube and found a guy who had this, and who's actually a professional bodybuilder and has a course and stuff like that. So I got him in touch with him, and so my son did this program and just crushed it at age 13, and he did it for a whole year, and now he owns it himself. But so now he is very much the same kind of, like, he's on it and he's experimenting. He'll be like, hey dad, um, have you tried this exercise? And I was reading about this, and have you done this? And that book that you got started on, he says to do it this way, but I'm reading it, you should do it this way. What do you think? And so there's that camaraderie there now too, which has been really fun. Um, but yeah, I'm constantly looking for ways to optimize, or if I start doing this set of exercises in this way, if I start scaling up this way, if I change my diet, I for many years I've been I've had very high A1C, so they would call that adult potential for adult onset diabetes, pre-diabetic.
So
And I when I first figured out that was happening to me, and my mom's that way too, but I was like, what? How? But you are too.
yes.
Um, I I can't. But really, like I've known that for a while. But then about 2 years ago, uh, I I got to the point where, like, I can't have, like, I feel sick if I have alcohol. Um, I can't I can't really even eat like a cookie or like anything with added sugar in it. Even if I've already had like a steak or something, I can't, or I feel sick. Or I'll be up all night. The blood sugar
Yeah.
weirdness is, and so
It's amazing that we're connecting on this level, man. Because I didn't mean to cut you off either, but
no, sorry.
I can maintain a very healthy schedule usually, but then around people and stuff, I still have trouble maintaining. And last night, since I'm moving to Nashville in 2 days, so
Oh,
I'm
whoa.
saying goodbye to some of my friends out here, and they're like, just come over and we're gonna have some good food and everything. And I still have trouble being like, look, I can't do this. So
Yeah.
yesterday I had some ordered out food, and it was still relatively clean, but then I was sick pretty much, feeling crappy. I couldn't sleep. I'm heated up all night because my body's producing, more
Right.
insulin, and it's
Yep.
amazing to hear it from somebody else that's also kind of healthier, similar to my age, because yeah, my body just doesn't allow me to do these things. I haven't drank in like 5 years. My body doesn't let me do that. And yeah, it's literally the all or nothing has entered into my body where it's the same, where it's like you got to do this completely, and
Yeah.
if you veer off, it's pretty much just sucks.
Yeah. I mean, and even after probably 5 months of having zero added sugar, this last Sunday or something, I had a couple like mint chocolate candy thingies. Um, and I had like the midnight sweats.
So
And
that's amazing.
there's no other explanation for it, that my body has just said. And you never know, like, is it just that I pay more attention now, or has my body really changed? It doesn't really matter because I feel what I feel.
Yeah.
But I just similar to like similar to a lot of things in life, I I love strength training, weightlifting. I love mountain biking and biking in general. I love running and just going crazy with my dog and like trail running and stuff like that. So like these are things that like I enjoy. I kind of have to do them,
Yeah.
but I enjoy it so much, and I make everything a game. Everything's a game for me. Work, vocal coaching, creating courses, creating YouTube videos. It's all a game. And and if I could leave anything with anybody at the end of this time, it would be that the more that you can look at as you get to do,
Yeah.
even if there is a part of that that's an obligation, like what can you get to do in what you have to do? And when you're looking at life that way, it it it's so fun. There's so many things that you can look forward to. Like I I get to make dumb videos with me making stupid sounds and help people how to learn how to use their voices. I get to do that. I get to wake up in the morning and lift weights. I get to go on a run with my dog. I get to go on a bike ride with my wife. Um I get to jam with my kids with music. What do you get to do today?
Yeah.
Um that's I don't that's not a thing that comes naturally to me or anybody, right? That's a decision you have to make. Like,
Yeah.
not what do I have to do, what do I get to do? Like you have to program that into you. But um
It's inspiring stuff, man. We went in directions I didn't know if we would go, but it's been great. I really appreciate it. It's been very fast too. This went very, very quickly, but I really appreciate. I appreciate too that I was able to reach out to you with I don't know how many fucking emails you're getting, and you got back to me a couple times. I appreciate that. I always kind of knew you were a busy dude, and I didn't know if we would ever do anything, but I thought it would be a great thing. I want to talk to more people, and I want to be involved in more people's lives that do stuff that I do.
yeah.
Obviously, as a content creator, there's still a big amount of the world that just goes, "What is that?" Even when I was applying to live in a house here in Nashville, they were like, "What do you mean you're a content creator?" I'm like, "Well, I make a substantial amount of money every month from the internet. No, I'm not on OnlyFans, but no, it's from the internet." And they had to look. I had to show them those numbers and prove it and stuff. So it's still a weird thing. But I want to get involved with other people that do this stuff. And God knows I've been doing it long enough. So I appreciate you, sir. You're an inspiring dude. And then I'll let you go. And then maybe we'll talk again sometime.
Sounds great.
And
Yeah, thanks for having me on the channel, and good
oh, and
luck
I'm gonna
with your move to Nashville. And
thank you, buddy. I'm gonna be talking to Andy. I think next month. So
oh, cool.
yeah, we'll see how that goes too. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah. All right, buddy.
Yeah. All
Well,
right.
thank you again.
Talk soon.
All right, bye.